So thank you, Matt, for joining me for this conversation, this 3 questions in a crisis.
Mhm.
So introduce yourself and tell us about your nonprofit.
All right. My name is Matt Pusateri. I'm the Director of Marketing at the Museum of Life and Science in Durham, North Carolina.
Great. So tell me, we're talking about when you had to basically shut down your operations in
Mhm.
how many hours? Was it 40 hours, 48, 72,
Yeah, I mean,
24?
it was funny because we were spending a lot of time doing communications about we're still open, it's still safe to come here. Here are the extra precautions we're taking to make sure this is safe for visitors and for staff. And I remember I spent almost my entire Wednesday of that week working on an updated message about all that, all the new things we were doing. And then by Friday, I was working on the message about us closing and why we were closing, why we didn't know when we would reopen. Um, so yeah, it all changed very rapidly, and we had to be pretty nimble as far as just updating our messaging as
Yeah.
the situation evolved really quickly.
Yeah. So your nonprofit is a science museum. So it's a
Mm-hmm.
hands-on opportunity for youth and adults to interact with a lot of great scientific experiments and see wild animal, like live animals and all sorts
Yep.
of really cool stuff. So, in this time, what is mission critical to communicate about your brand and about your nonprofit? What's the most important element?
Well, at first I would say part of it is just trying to communicate the basics of what we're doing and why we're doing it, right? It's funny now to look back because now it all seems very obvious, but at the time there was a question of, should we close? Some of our competitors aren't closing yet. Some people already have. And we wanted to explain to our membership and to our visitors why we were doing what we were doing. So there was that aspect of it. And then there was a question. I know we had a debate among a lot of the executive team at the museum. What do we say about how long we're going to be closed? A lot of places were putting a date. A lot of places are saying we're closed until March 31st, or we're closed until April 5th. I looked around and my recommendation was that we be kind of transparent that we don't know. And so we wound up using the language of something to the extent of, well, we're going to be closed for the minimum of 2 weeks or a minimum of 3 weeks, leaving the door very much open to the possibility that this could go a lot longer than that. And I always felt like we wanted to err on the side of being as honest about what we didn't know. This is what we did. I didn't think it did a service to anyone to pretend that we were going to be back in 3 weeks or we were going to be back in a month. Because even when it seems like a year ago, but in mid-March, we really didn't know, like, was this going to kind of pass in a couple of weeks and we'd kind of be back to normal? I think a lot of us were already seeing this might be a lot longer than that. I don't think we thought it would be until as long as it has become, but I think we realized this could be for a while.
Yeah. So over the weeks, you've definitely shifted your communications and your mission to do. So what are some of the things that have been just highlights of things you've been able to do now that you're closed?
For a while, it was about updating our messaging and saying, okay, we had, at some point we got near that, the language said we'll be closed for a minimum of 2 weeks. And we had to update to be a little more broad about we're closed indefinitely or until further notice, I think is the language we settled on. But then we started realizing that this shouldn't just be a broadcast, right? At some point, this wasn't just notifying the public. We already told them anything we could tell them. Nothing has substantially changed since early April when it was clear that we weren't going to reopen in the near future. So then I felt like, as sort of our head of communications, I felt like we need to start having a conversation with our people. So we've been starting to ask questions like, what would it take to make you feel comfortable when you come back to the museum?
Interesting. Yeah.
What things would you not do that you currently enjoy at the museum? So for example, one of the things in our marketing language all about the museum is that we're hands-on science and nature part. Well, the hands-on part makes people nervous right now, or may make a lot of people nervous. So we have to think about how we talk about that. And so there's been a lot of trying to have surveys and dialogues with members about, what are the things that you're going to be uncomfortable about? What things are you maybe not going to want to do? And likewise, a big part of our business is summer camps. We have dozens and dozens of summer camps at the museum and at a second location throughout the summer for thousands of kids in the area. Well, right now, we don't know. current status of summer camp, right? We don't know, are we going to have to cancel some of them? Are we going to have to cancel all of them? Are we going to have to change what they are? There's some conversation about possibly doing like a virtual summer camp, which to my knowledge, no one's ever really done.
Yeah.
So we did a survey just this last weekend with our members, and we've gotten already over 500 responses, which has really been a really helpful communications exercise to find out if the camps were as scheduled, would you still be bringing your kids? What would make you more likely to bring your kids? What changes would make you feel more comfortable with that? And the same thing with this notion of a virtual or an online camp.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what would, which elements of that would be something you'd be interested in? How long would you be looking for? What kinds of features would you want?
Yeah.
We're trying to learn more about, what are the concerns of our members? What are they thinking about? How do we understand them both when they come back to the museum, when we do eventually open our doors again, or for things like the summer camps? How can we adapt our existing camps to this new reality, assuming we open up this summer? If we can't open up the regular camps, is there some alternative? Or is it clear for people that they don't want that there's no interest in a virtual experience?
Are they desperate? Yeah.
Yeah, so a big part of my role right now is we did a lot of talking in March and April about what's going on. Now I feel like we're much more in a listening mode. Like, this is where we're trying to understand better our visitors, our members, and get a sense of, how do we make this the best possible experience for people going forward when we eventually reopen?
Yeah. So is there a piece of communication or a collection of communications that you feel has had a really great impact for your brand through this closure?
Well, I guess there's two things that come to mind. I think there was the initial announcement of the closure. Mm-hmm. I think we sweated the details on that a little bit to make sure that we framed it in the right way for why we were doing it. And then we wanted to anticipate some common concerns. We knew that a lot of people were worried about what's going to happen to the animals. We're an AZA accredited zoo, even though we're a small one. So we have a lot of animals. We want to make sure people understood that they're going to be taken care of. We're not abandoning them. Their health, We also had a lot of people registered for events and workshops and evening events. We want to make sure that their money is going to get refunded. They're not going to lose any money that they trusted us with when they registered. But then we've also tried to use social media to keep a lighter dynamic so that people still understand that we're still around. So we do different things on our different social media channels, but I know on our Instagram, that tends to be a lot more lighter, fun, our animals. So we've tried to make it a point that, like, hey, we're still around. We miss you guys, and we'll show updates. This is what, Lightning, our donkey, has been doing while you were gone. We showed videos. These are what the wolves have been doing. This is updates where some of the lemurs and what they've been up to. And so we've tried to keep things light and, remind people why they love the museum, why they love coming there with their kids. And even though we can't reopen, we don't know when we're going to reopen, just keeping it in their mind that it's not all heavy and doom and gloom, but there's this fun place that we're hoping to bring them back to.
Yeah, certainly. So what's one piece of advice they have for communicators in a crisis?
I would go back to what I was saying earlier, which is just, it's okay to tell people what you don't know, right? I feel like it's okay to say, we're figuring some of these things out. You want to maintain a sense of trust and you want to share what we do know about things, but where we can't, I think it's okay to say, this is a rapidly changing situation and we're trying to do the best we can to make sure that our guests and our staff are safe. Mm-hmm. And we'll update you as we know more and as we have clear, ideas. I spend a lot of time looking at how other science centers and zoos and museums communicate with their members on a million mailing list. Some do this really well. Others try to make it seem like they have it all planned out, that it's all, figured out. And I think it's okay to be honest and say, we're figuring this out along with you guys. These are unprecedented times and we're all struggling with this in different ways. And we know you are, we know we are, we're working with you guys to figure out the best way to get back to normal.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Is there anything else you want to add to our conversation?
No. I guess I'm just hoping everybody stays safe and hopefully everyone can get back to work and, keep their nonprofits up and running.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much. This is great. Thank you.
Glad to be here.